We've all seen the headlines. Gen Z is starting to give up. This is because the economy is totally screwed, it's literally impossible to get a job, and even if you do get one, it's bound to pay absolute dog shit, while your rent and daily living expenses continue to spiral way out of control. Worst of all, there's not really much hope that things will get any better in the future. The bleak outlook on the economy and on life in general has led to a lot of Gen Z being labeled as doomers, a person with a pessimistic outlook on life. A doomer feels a sense of helplessness and aimlessness, and is often stricken with deep despair for life. Now, unlike delusional boomers and the mainstream media, I, as your millennial defense lawyer, don't think you're being soft or lazy at all. I think being a doomer is a totally rational and logical response to the bleak world and economy we all live in today. I mean, it's like if you read the weather report that it was gonna be nothing but vicious hailstorms and blizzards all week, would you be soft and lazy for giving up and just staying inside? Or is it just a totally logical and rational response to what's actually going on in the world? Call me crazy, but I think it's the latter. This does, however, beg the question, which is also the title of the video: how do you find purpose and meaning in such a fucked up world? Traditional vices such as making a lot of money, having a successful career, getting married, and starting a family have become not only unattainable, but at this point, even undesirable for a lot of young people right now. And once again, with the way things are right now, nothing is wrong with this at all. The world has changed, and we need to find new ways to find meaning and purpose to get through this fucked up life. So, how do we do this? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's get the show on the road. Step 1, detach yourself from all societal expectations. In order to find your purpose in life, you must first clearly define what is your purpose. Keyword, your. Not your parents, not your friends, not your girlfriend, not your boyfriend, not your family, not your church, not your dog. In other words, not society's. These outside influences are ultimately all just an extension of society when you think about it, aren't they? There is a huge conflict of interest with this because what society wants for you isn't always what's best for you as an individual. You hear professional athletes and gamers in team sports talk about this all the time. It's really hard to improve individually when you're a part of a team. Now, we all intuitively know this to some level, especially if you clicked on this video, you're likely already aware of this fact. But what you might not realize is the extent of just how bad societal expectations have fucked us up. I'll give an example. I grew up in America, the son of two immigrant boomers who, like most immigrant families, have the most insane, toxic, and delusionally unrealistic expectations for their children. During my childhood, I was always under some sort of pressure to get perfect grades, to go to Harvard, to have some incredible career, and make a lot of money. Now, in my early 20s, I was determined to carve out my own path and prove them wrong. I was gonna make it in Hollywood, make it on YouTube, make it to the NBA, find some unconventional path to become super successful, to prove them wrong and get my revenge. It wasn't until recently when I realized that even if I became successful at those things, I was still ultimately a prisoner to societal expectations, a prisoner to fulfilling society's purpose for me and not my own purpose. I didn't really want to be famous, nor would it have actually even made me happy. I just wanted to prove a point. So, where does this all leave you? Well, if you're watching this video, chances are you are already somewhat aware society's expectations for you are bullshit. But I would go as far as to say that most of your depression, anxiety, and the absolute record amount of mental health issues plaguing young people right now are due to constantly being pressured to live up to society's purpose for you and not your own. So, this is what I want you to do. Organize a time where you can find 20 minutes in your day where you can go into a dark room, close your eyes, and just meditate and reflect without distractions. Turn off your phone and put it in another room, as it's probably the biggest distraction we have today. It's okay, you'll survive 20 minutes without it, trust me. Really take your time and think about all the reasons you're feeling lost and without meaning and purpose right now. Do you feel like a failure? Are you struggling with money, living paycheck to paycheck? Do you feel like everyone else your age is completely surpassing you in every aspect of life? Really think hard and be honest with yourself about every reason you're feeling lost and depressed. Remember Kidlin's Law. Once you can clearly write down the problem, the matter is already half resolved. Now, once you've done that, I want you to ask yourself this question. If you were an extreme survivalist like Bear Grylls, living on an island all by yourself with no society around to pressure you, would you still be feeling depressed about this? In 99% of instances, I would bet the answer is probably no. I mean, think about it. Would you feel bad about dropping out of college on an isolated island? Probably not. Would you feel bad that everyone else seems to be doing well on social media? Probably not. Would you feel bad about being considered an unemployed loser? Probably not. Do you see where this is going now? All these things are ultimately just subjective, unrealistic standards society sets on you because society has an ulterior motive itself. It wants you to be a living, breathing ATM machine to push its GDP figures forward. And to be honest, it's kind of borderline toxic and abusive even that it's willing to shame you to the point of depression for not being just another fucking number on their spreadsheet. I say fuck that shit. You're always being told by your asshole boomer parents that the world doesn't owe you anything. So if that's the case, fuck the world. You don't owe the world jack shit either. And that starts with finding your own purpose, detaching yourself from the manufactured planned purpose that society and the world has tried to force onto you since you were born. Think of it this way. Finding your purpose is like trying to paint a beautiful piece of art. But the problem is, in order to even begin painting, you must first start with a blank white canvas. And unfortunately for us, the canvas of discovering our own life purpose has been completely cluttered with messy ink blots from our parents and society. Oh, you have to go to college, you have to make money, you have to work a traditional 9-to-5, you have to be successful by this certain age. But by fully understanding and detaching yourself from societal expectations, you get to once again start from a clean, new, fresh, blank canvas, a fresh, new beginning. There's still a long way to go before you paint an artistic masterpiece, but it all starts with a clean, white canvas. Step 2. Creating your own comfort zones. I'm sure you've all heard the cliche piece of advice by now that if you want to grow, you must step outside your comfort zone. Now, unlike a lot of old traditional advice, I actually think this one isn't too bad or outdated, but I do believe we can take it a step further. I have an athletic background myself, and I've spent a lot of time analyzing the world's best athletes. What I've noticed with all of them is that, yes, the good ones are capable of getting out their comfort zone. The great ones, however, take it to the absolute next level by creating their own comfort zones in previously uncomfortable positions. Gretzky became comfortable operating behind the enemy team's goal to a point where it became known as the Gretzky office. Kobe liked having his back to the basket and operating out of the post. They all took previously uncomfortable locations and made it into their comfort zone. So, where does this leave you? I believe we all have our own spots where we mentally and physically just operate at a much higher level than we normally do. The key is to find which place, which physical and mental location does this best for you and make it your comfort zone. So I'll give you an example. For me personally, when I need to find new inspiration for new video ideas, I found that most of my best ideas came from when I was just thinking about personal arguments I had with my own asshole boomer parents when I was growing up and coming of age. So whenever I feel like I'm running out of ideas or inspiration, I just close my eyes and reminisce on a traumatic argument I had with my asshole boomer parents. I always wonder how much I'd destroy their stupid boomer logic if I knew back then what I know now. So when I close my eyes for inspiration, I do exactly that. I envision myself traveling back into my 12-year-old self and destroying all their arguments with all the information my now adult 34 version of myself knows. This has led to the inspiration of some of my best videos. For example, the video about the Great Depression that a lot of you enjoyed. That actually stemmed from an argument I had as a kid when my parents were telling me that I was quote-unquote spoiled to have it better than anyone in human history. Now, unfortunately back then, I did not have the ability to actually research human history and find a rebuttal, so I kind of just had to eat that boomer shit sandwich from them. But I do now, and I actually have the ability to research human history, and that's exactly what I did. Many of my videos are just that. All these videos that you guys have come to love and enjoy are just reflections of what I would say to my boomer parents if I knew back then what I know now. But it all started with turning a traumatic memory into my new comfort zone. So find and create your own comfort zones. It can be anything from a physical location like your local park to an activity like jogging or lifting weights. Find out where you think the best, feel the most inspired, and create your own mental and physical comfort zone there. Now, you not only have a clear mind and a blank canvas to work with, you now have the mental and psychological tools to think deeply and discover your purpose. Think of it this way. In step 1, we erased all the messy random ink blots of society and acquired a fresh blank new canvas. In step 2, we acquire the mental and physical tools, aka the brush and colors necessary to paint our masterpiece. Now it's time to move to step 3, where we actually get to begin painting. And this is the fun part. Step 3, Ekai Guy. So, now that you have created your own comfort zone, your own personal physical and mental location where you can access a higher level of mental clarity at will, you're going to need this ability to be able to answer the next few very important questions that I'm about to ask you. There is a Japanese traditional concept known as Ikigai. This has been popularized for decades as a way to find your purpose. Now, unlike a lot of traditional advice, I actually believe this one still stands the test of time and is still relevant today because it's about internal rather than external validation. Ikigai can be visualized as a Venn diagram of 4 circles: what you enjoy doing, what you're good at doing, what the world needs, and finally, what you can be paid for. Now, for the moment, I want you to focus entirely on the top 3 circles and ignore the bottom circle of making money just for now. I know that money is important and we all need it to survive, but we'll be saving that for step 4 as it's kind of a different topic altogether and deserves its own section. For now, let's concentrate on the top 3 circles. What do you legitimately enjoy doing? What are you objectively good at? And how can this be used to assist your community and those around you? As a matter of fact, we can even simplify it down to just the first 2 circles for now. What do you enjoy and what are you good at? We all enjoy something, and no matter how big of a doomer you are, no matter how down on yourself you might be, trust me, you are good at something. And if you followed step 1 and step 2, eventually you'll figure it out. You just have to think outside the box a bit. You see, for me, I'm good at bashing society and complaining about the world and economy. I also legitimately enjoy doing it. And this has actually helped me find purpose and make a living through this YouTube channel. But in order to realize this, I had to first separate my own self-worth from that of society's. You see, society would have never considered my ability to play video games and complain as being useful in any way. They would have, of course, laughed at me. Now, aside from having gloriously proved society wrong, there's a valuable lesson that can be learned from all of this. If you enter your own comfort zone that you created in step 2 and you really think about it long and hard enough, you'll likely realize that there is, in fact, something you're good at. You just haven't noticed yet because you've been pressured to live for society and not for yourself. But as you're reflecting on this, don't rule out anything, no matter how trivial it may seem. If you were good at playing with your dog as a kid, you can be a pet sitter or make viral dog videos on YouTube. If you were good at origami, you can upgrade your artistic skills a bit and become an Etsy seller. You get the idea. If you think long and hard enough, no matter how much of a doomer you are, you will find something that you both enjoyed and were good at. You just kind of neglected it over the years because society told you that it was useless and that you needed to get a real job. I say fuck that and fuck society. Step 4, monetizing your purpose. Okay, so as promised, in our 4th and final step, we're going to talk about how you can monetize your purpose and passions, as unfortunately this is an inevitable reality of the material world we all live in. This is also the 4th and final step towards truly living out your purpose, as you can't really find meaning in life, I don't think, if you're stuck wage slaving away half your life at a soulless 9 to 5. Now, if we go back to our Ikigai circles, the key to achieving the 4th and final Ikigai circle of getting paid for what you enjoy doing is as simple as finding out how you can connect the first 2 circles to the third one. Once you discover what you're good at and what you enjoy doing, how can you package it in a way that will be of benefit to the world? Once you figure out how to do this, the fourth and final circle will naturally come with the territory. Think about it. If you're bringing some sort of benefit to your community, people will have a reason to pay you for the benefits you're bringing them. You just have to think about how you can convert your passions into being useful for your community. For example, I was always pretty good at basketball, just not quite good enough to make the NBA. But when I started thinking less about myself as a player and more about how I could use my passions to benefit others, I actually got a lot of opportunities to coach youth teams overseas, where I discovered in many ways helping others was actually more rewarding than being a player myself. I mean, getting paid for it was a natural side effect that just happened to eventually follow. Complaining about society was always something that I could rant about for hours. But when I started to think about how I could utilize this skill to benefit others, it led to the inspiration of this YouTube channel itself. Now, this is something that may take a while for you to figure out based on what specific purpose that you found yourself is. But if you ever feel stuck while you're trying to connect the dots, all you have to do is revert back to step 2, where you create and enter your own comfort zone, where you can think and focus with a whole new level of clarity. And at some point, I promise, the answer will come to you. There's a ton of disadvantages to how much our lives are constantly dominated by the internet today. If you're a doomer, you're already well aware of this. But one undeniable advantage is that it's never been easier to monetize your hobbies and your passions. And this also allows you to live anywhere in the world, where you can get by on a lot less money than the absurd living cost of America and the West today. Conclusion. We live in a fucked up world, economy, and society today. There's absolutely no doubt about that. It's undeniable. But if there's anything I can tell you, it's this. Some of the most beautiful pieces of art, film, and literature were inspired out of places of unbearable pain and misery. You've probably seen this meme by now. Hard times create strong men, which create good times, which create weak men, which create hard times all over again, and the cycle continues. This meme is often used by older generations to mock Gen Z, but what if the meme itself is true, it's just the opposite of how they understood it? What if boomers were the weak men who experienced the unparalleled good times of the 60s, who then created the hard times we have to face today? And what if we're now the strong men who must find our purpose to fight our way out of the hard times we were put in? Will we manage to overcome these hard times so that we may create good times, not only for ourselves, but also for future generations? Only time will tell. But it starts with rejecting all the outdated notions of material success imposed on us by society, and by finding and creating our own purpose and meaning in life.